Welcome back to an Eastern Conference Finals preview edition of Up in the Blue Seats, our New York Rangers podcast from the New York Post. I'm Brian Boyle here with co-hosts covering the blue shirts at the New York Post, Mollie Walker and Hall of Famer Larry Brooks. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button if you're watching the pod on the New York Post Sports YouTube page. Leave a comment below and let us know your predictions for the Eastern Conference Finals. Guys, I gotta say really quick, that was the stuff of legends. That third period from Chris Kreider. That was William Wallace riding in on a horse. What will you do without freedom? I was so impressed. That spark, Mika throwing it off his foot on purpose. I that got him going, and then an absolute collapse from Carolina. They had him dead to rights. It was going 7, no doubter. And William Wallace came in and got the crowd going. Oh my goodness.
What was it that you responded to my tweet? You wrote something like, I heard he rode in on a horse, face painted blue.
Yeah.
Because he had said to guys within earshot before they got back on the ice for the third period that he was going to go get one, which is, like you said, legendary stuff from number 20. And then he went out. He lied because then he went out and got 3.
I probably said that 300 times going into a third period down a goal. And so is everybody else that's played enough games.
Right.
I'm getting one. Who else is getting one?
That ruins it. Come on, Brian. Don't ruin it.
So then it started coming up. Other people started writing things that it seemed like it was getting more and more ridiculous as it went on. So that's when I threw in the Braveheart thing. I actually wrote a longer thing and I deleted some of it. I just was like, maybe somebody will get this reference.
Right. Well, I honestly remember when I started covering the Islanders, the dynasty. Yeah, their overtime record was remarkable, as you would expect. And it was Bobby Nystrom would stand up. I'm gonna get who's gonna be the hero? Who's gonna be the hero? And Bobby Nystrom stands up, and Bobby Nystrom is the hero. And John Tonelli stands up, and John Tonelli is the hero. And these guys. So back then it was who's gonna be the hero? Who's gonna be the hero? I think, look, Chris has been has etched his name in Ranger tapestry, right? I mean, he's part of Ranger history. But what I took from Raleigh is that Kreider really shouldn't overshadow the strong mindset of the Rangers, and they prove it all the time. And I all year it's been, do they deserve the benefit of the doubt? Do they deserve the benefit of the doubt? Are they really that good? Are they really that good? So much of it goes back to last year, but it's a different unit entirely because it's a different staff and it's a different mentality entirely. And so they have proven it over and over again. They did need to prove it again, and they did. Whether they're good enough, whether they're going to play well enough to beat Florida remains to be seen. It's, I think a 50-50, two very good teams. But I don't think there's any questioning this team anymore. I mean, if they fall short, they fall short, then they have to improve. If they go the distance, they go the distance. But I think they reinforced the strength of their mindset in Game 6. And yeah, Brian, it's funny because I remember we were talking last week how Carolina was 20 minutes away from being broken up, and they responded with the Game 4 third period. Here, they were 20 minutes away from forcing the Rangers to play again in New York in Game 7, and they did implode. They had they had so many chances to put the game away. Between Igor's saves and Carolina missing the net, it was ridiculous. It was even when it was 3-2 after Chris had scored to make it 3-2. Schneider and Gustafsson collide just
right outside the blue
line, Aho picks up the puck and goes racing in alone. There's absolute chaos on the ice. It's confusion. Place is going wild, and Aho misses the net by about 10 feet.
On a
So
breakaway.
I mean,
On a
they had
breakaway.
It's your best
different
player.
different. They had different opportunities they had numerous opportunities to put that game away, and they couldn't. The Rangers did.
That's the hump, right? That's like, how do we get over the hump? If you're Carolina, how do we get over the hump? Well, you got to figure that. You got to figure that out. And I love talking teams that win, that on paper, how did they win? And they just have a special sauce or whatever it is. And the Rangers win games a lot that, if you look at all these stupid analytics that I don't like, they shouldn't have won this game. They got outplayed. And
like, okay, but they
yeah,
did.
They didn't. They won the game. Like, they have these gamers, these guys that like rise to the occasion. And
Right.
I don't know how Svechnikov gets that puck. It like looks like it's whacked by Lindgren right to him in the slot. Like, Cooley's not doing anything wrong with 2.5 minutes left. He's going out to his point. All of a sudden, it's on his tape, and there's no way Igor should know that that's happening. It shouldn't have happened that way. And he's just like, "Yep, give it to me." And the guy, Svechnikov, makes a great shot, and it was like a routine morning skate goalie drill. He just blockered it away. I got it, no problem. I was like, that's a gamer. That's the play. So I don't want to overlook what.
No, Igor was spectacular. I mean, he got overshined by Chris Kreider.
They don't
natural hat trick, of course, but Igor was spectacular as well.
And of course, it's such a reach, and we all know it. When we try and compare Kreider to Messier,
I love it.
To that game 6, but I'm telling you, Igor Shesterkin was Mike Richter.
Oh, yeah.
just as much as Chris Kreider was Mark Messier the other night. I can tell you that.
100%.
No, and you talk about the mindset. I mean, one of my biggest takeaway just from the way that the players spoke about the game afterward, they talked about it like game 7 wasn't an option. Like, they knew if it went to a game 7, it almost would have been a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. And understandably so, because that was, if it had gone to 7, I mean, it was anybody's ball game. It was anybody's series at that point, and I don't think home ice advantage would have mattered. I think it really just could have gone either way, because at that point, it just would have been so eerily similar to last season that I don't think that they would have been able to have overcome that. But big hero stuff from Chris Kreider in the third period.
It was great to see. That's a hard team. They beat them, so they'll be underdogs. They are underdogs again. I think it's
right
minus
this round,
minus 150 to win.
This round, I'll accept it. I'll accept it.
Probably be every game.
Oh, just like it was last round. But last round, I vehemently disagreed with that. But this round, I think it's a little different. I think that this whole season, regardless of the fact that the Rangers had maintained the best record for a majority of the year, the Panthers were still viewed as the team to beat in the East widely by the whole national.
Because they've been there
until Carolina. Until Carolina, really, the Rangers have never been viewed as the team to beat, and I think that who cares?
No, yeah.
I
agree.
Well, Mollie cared.
I cared. I cared. I cared.
Yeah.
Wait, and then can we just talk about how they went 1-3, 1-2 or whatever? I was like, oh God, after that rant, that wouldn't have looked good.
Well, they're all good teams now, obviously.
Yeah, they're good teams. Yeah, they're very good teams. Yeah.
But that's the reason. Like, Florida did it last year, and then this year they had a very good record, and they were missing a lot of guys for the first 20 odd games of the season. So they know what they're up against, though, and this will be an interesting series, I think.
And that's why, you know what, it kind of reminds me almost of the positions the Rangers were in 15 playing Tampa. You're in Tampa because they're going back, and like everybody thought the Rangers were going back to the final when the 2015 team played Tampa, played you. And honestly, it was kind of like, well, they're going back. They had played well, and so going into that series, I think people respected Tampa Bay as a very good team, but the Rangers were going back, and I wonder if that's kind of the viewpoint from the Florida people is, well, the Rangers are a very good team, but we're going back. We're going back. We've got, they owe us one. We're going back to get our cup now. And so listen, I think the Rangers had one of their best victories toward the end of March against the Panthers at the Garden. It was right after they beat Boston in Boston. They had that 48-hour stretch where they went up and beat Boston with, I think, their best game of the year, actually. Then they came home on a Saturday night, played Florida, fell down early 2-0, came back, tied it late, and won it in overtime. And I just thought, those two games kind of solidified their season, and they took off from there again. So I really I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to watching them play every other night for a couple of weeks. I think it could be interesting. I think we will find out. Are the Rangers, are
the real team to beat?
Are the Rangers mean enough to survive a mean opponent? Are they going to be, are they going to be able to take the relentlessness that's has an added bit of menace added to it? Really, when you have a guy rabbit punching you in the face, you have to be, when you have a guy on your team who rabbit punches you in the face, who's going to rabbit punch Brad Marchand in the face, you have to be ready.
You have to be ready.
You have to be
on
ready.
your toes, head on a swivel. Look, okay, well, so we'll move on. We'll go to Florida. Again, I'll start, instead of personnel, we'll start there, Larry. Like they have a certain style to them, the Panthers do. And what I love about this team, and you guys are in that room post game, I just get to see certain clips of interviews that you guys do with them, and in the post game. What impresses me the most, no matter what, I mean, I've noticed, no matter what, big win, tough loss, game 5 no-show, their demeanor in post game, particularly Trouba, who is the captain, and I'm glad because this is sort of his role. It's the same, no matter what. And it's like, especially particularly after game 5, where I don't know what happened there, but he's just like, it wasn't our game. We didn't play well. We got to, wipe it away. We got to get a win. And
that's kind of,
what? They're going nuts in between periods. I know it. They're not like that in between.
No, but
the way they handle it's great.
That comment from that you're paraphrasing Trouba, what he said. I was laughing because I'm remembering back to the second game of the regular season in Columbus. They had played so well in the opener in Buffalo. It was a revelation. They go into this 1-3-1.
Right.
No one had ever seen the Rangers play this, with this kind of structure ever. It never happened. So they go to Columbus and they don't play very well at all, and then the Blue Jackets are dominating them. They're racing through the 1-3-1. And I remember Trouba after the second game, people, Jacob, what happened? What happened? He goes, these games are going to happen. Come on. It's a long season. Come on. It's okay. I didn't think we played so bad. Don't worry. But that's Jacob Trouba to the public is the same, whether it is October 14th in Columbus or May, 16th in Sunrise. Yeah, you're right about that. Absolutely.
That takes on, and I mean, that trickles down too. If that's, that's your leader, and and speaking with Chris Kreider whenever it was, before they had named any captains, he goes, "It's troops. It's going to be him." These guys know, and they're going to follow Chris. They're going to follow Mika. They're going to follow Jacob Trouba and Vincent Trocheck, and these guys, they have an understanding. When the game starts, though, they got to match the intensity without without kind of, I don't know, crossing the line or whatever you want to say, because their strength is obviously their power play. And I remember when, and Larry, you're going to remember this too, the turn the other cheek from AV when
whistle to whistle
drove some of us nuts.
Yeah.
But it was working, so we just kind of did it until LA, and then I really wanted to. Well, I wanted to fight everyone on LA because that wasn't going well. But it sort of kept us calm enough to have a certain intensity, but also realize, it hurts to win, especially at this time of year. And they've proven so many, character things and overcoming the noise. I do worry about if it went to 7, but we don't have to worry about it anymore. Just the noise that I would have had to listen to. Thank God they won in 6.
Yeah. You're preaching.
Well, I like
you're preaching.
Yeah, no, it would have been very,
no, I don't.
It would have been a very, very difficult summer to look. We don't really need to discuss it. It would have been tough.
Really, let's not. We don't have to, so let's not.
I just think I just like thinking about this series. I like, and I guess everybody does, but I think the Rangers sometimes have a tendency to slow the game down. I like it when it's fast. And I thought they were at their best against Carolina when they were fast. When they matched Carolina's speed, when they even forced Carolina, which I thought they did in Game 6, even though they were down after 2 periods. And I know there are a lot of people who don't agree. Who thought they were being caved, who thought they were being.
I didn't think that. Weren't. No, I didn't think that.
They gave up some big chances, but I thought they were creating more.
Yeah.
I thought they created more speed through the neutral zone.
They changed something. They changed their
were more
approach.
Aggressive, and they. I thought they speeded up the game instead of falling back. And I think that's the way they're going to need to play against Florida. I don't think you want to play rope-a-dope. I don't think you want to be in your own end the entire game because Shesterkin is so good. You want to put some pressure on Bobrovsky, I think.
And he's made
Brian, did you ever play? Did you ever play for Maurice?
I never played for Paul Maurice. No, he was in Winnipeg for the majority of that.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree with you on Game 6. Just to wrap up Game 6, they were skating more. They were more connected. They were spread out all over, kind of waiting for somebody to do something at Game 5. And that's when they got caved. I know the shots, and people were like, these shots, they're getting beat again. It's 3-1. I'm like, nah. I was in that MSG studio. There weren't not many people as confident as I was.
Yeah. Well, I kept saying, I think they're okay. I think they're okay. I think they're okay. And people were like, there's someone looking at me saying, well, I don't know what you're talking about. They're okay.
See, we know.
We know.
We know what we're talking about.
We know.
All right. Well, the Panthers are looking to make their 3rd cup final in franchise history. Obviously, they were there last year. They lost 4-1 to Vegas, where they had, I think, 9 healthy skaters. And they were swept in 96. UA Krupp, I think, was the goal scorer in that overtime.
Yeah, I covered that series.
Stupid rats everywhere.
Yeah, I covered that series. Interestingly, I think the first game was competitive. The second game was a blowout. I think the third game was a blowout. It was not competitive, and the fourth game, Florida put up their last stand. Then the next season in '97, they played the Rangers. That's their only link. First round, of course, Florida's coming off the finals. That's the Gretzky-Messier year in New York, and it was a very difficult year. It was not a good year. It was hard. They finished 38, 34, and 10. They had, at one point they had won. I was looking at this yesterday because I had written it for the newsletter. They won 7 of their first 24 games with Messier and Gretzky. 7-13 and
that's not it.
That's not it.
They're in Edmonton, and we're at the hotel. I think it was the Hotel McDonald, maybe not, the mezzanine. And the team is like 6-12-2 or something. It's supposed to be a triumphant return for Messier and Gretzky. And here is Coley Campbell, who's the head coach of the team, holding this press conference, defending himself begging for his job, and it's like it's like 20 games into the season. So anyway, they make the playoffs, but it really it was not a good year. They make the playoffs. They play Florida. Florida's coming off the finals. It's Van Beesbrook against Richter. That's the big storyline. Florida shuts out the Rangers 3-0 in the first game, and then for whatever reason, they're playing in Miami at this point. They're in Miami Arena, the old Miami Arena.
That would have been fun.
It was a small old arena, so it was loud, and you're right over the ice. It was good. It really was. It wasn't great when you were walking to the parking lot after the game. But anyway, so the Rangers win. So the Rangers Richter then shuts out Florida 3-0 in the second game. Then they come back. Tikkanen scores in overtime. Gretzky scores a hat trick like within 6.5 minutes the next night, and then Tikkanen scores in overtime. So the Rangers win in 5, and Florida goes like 25 years without winning a playoff game. They never won a playoff game. Well, you were
we won one playoff game.
Right? What's that?
That was after they won a couple against Jersey, I believe.
Yeah,
they won a few years prior, like 2000.
Yeah, they won a couple against New Jersey. Yeah, they were actually a favorite that year. That was the year the Devils knocked the Rangers out in 12. They should.
I know.
Yeah,
that was tough. And the Rangers are looking to make their first Cup Finals in 10 years. I was on that team, the 13-14 team. That was a fun run. Not a great ending, but it was fun. That was that team was different than this team in a lot of ways, but we did have a great, I think, understanding in the room, which I think this team has. Everybody seems to be together in that room. There's one message, and they're all kind of following along, and that's exactly what I've seen so far with this group. And they've learned lessons. They've had their moments of maturity, and I don't know. And again, you guys are in there. You guys can disagree or agree with me. I just think that is so important. Again, that's on paper. A lot of teams look good in August, September, and training camp time. This is what separates, and this is what there's a certain
they are a button down team. It's a business like.
They have very good habits.
One day.
Yeah.
It's so cliche, and they're almost embarrassed saying it. I think we're almost embarrassed repeating it, but it is. They look at it. Okay, what do we? What's next? What's on our? What's coming up next? And what's next is the Florida Panthers.
That's right, Mollie.
What
are your predictions?
Listen, I picked the Rangers to go to the Stanley Cup, and I'm going to stick by that. I think that this is going to be a longer series as well. So I'm going to go Rangers in 7.
All right. Larry doesn't do predictions.
Yeah, no, I picked the well, actually, I don't like to.
We just tease it for the
no, I've already made my pre-playoff pick that they would win. I think I had them actually beating Toronto in the conference final.
Yeah, I don't even remember who I had them beating, to be quite honest.
I like this team. I think they'll find.
Yeah, me too.
So I've unbiased. I liked Florida the whole year because of sort of what I mentioned about the injuries and whatnot, and how they're another year of buttoned up, and looks like Barkov's healthy. Looks like their D are somewhat healthy.
That top line, Tarasenko, Barkov, Reinhart. I mean, that is.
They got guys like Verhaeghe, you can't forget about, who scored 40. Like Verhaeghe scored 40.
Kachuk, please. Let's not
Kachuk,
forget.
He hasn't even really.
Yeah, let's not forget. I still can't forget.
Yeah,
he'll hurt you in other ways,
Bennett will too. I think there's guys they can expose. I think
and the Bob.
Cool. Yeah, he's a gamer, but he's not as good as Igor.
He hasn't been, and isn't he like just over 900 in the playoffs so far?
Don't look at that. The saves he's made,
I'm
at
looking
the
at it.
times
What
he's
do you?
made.
I'm looking at it. What are you gonna do?
I know. Anyways, I like 7 games. I don't know. I think it's gonna go 7. I think it's gonna be awesome.
Don't look at it. I'm looking at it, Brian.
I
Like
know.
I like.
Big save, key moment. Bob's been there.
Yeah, it's still the Bob.
But
Like no matter
he's
what,
like
it's
902.
still the Bob.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited. I'm rooting for him.
So what's you said you like 7, but is it Rangers in 7? Is it Panthers in 7? You can't back out, huh?
I gotta change my prediction. I gotta go. I can't on the Rangers podcast. I'm not gonna
All right, so you're gonna say Rangers in 7 here, and then you're gonna go on NHL Network and say Panthers in 7? That's just fair weather media behavior.
I'm allowed to watch
the
games and change my mind after that Game 6 third period. I'm picking the Rangers.
Brian, welcome to the side of media. If you go back on your prediction, you will get dragged through the mud.
By who?
Ranger fans.
Yeah, well, they're not going to drag me.
And hockey fans.
I didn't have all the information.
It's going to be our boiling point. If you
flip-flop.
Larry and I are gonna
you renege. It's gonna be our
we'll drag you.
Yeah.
I'm not picking Florida anymore. I didn't have all the information. Okay.
Yeah.
Beginning of April, I was like, I think Florida goes back, and I think either Dallas or Vegas goes back. That's what I said.
That's fine.
And Dallas won that series, so I have Dallas, obviously. So yeah. All right. Mollie has to run.
Yeah.
There's a practice to
we got practice.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Practice. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for hopping on. And I'm so excited. You guys seem to be excited. This was a happy morning, it seemed like. And thank you, Larry. Thank you as always.
All right.
Insights. We'll talk. I don't know when we'll talk. We'll talk.
But we will talk.
We will talk.
We'll talk. We need to talk.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that boiling point, we got that coming up next.
All right.
On Up in the Blue Seats. Stay tuned. Okay. Real quick boiling point. I'm not taking anything away from the athletes that play cornhole. Okay. But when there's a Game 7 on and it's supposed to be on ESPN, I'd like at least 5 minutes of build up, maybe hear the Canadian anthem in an all Canadian Game 7 in the playoffs with the best player, probably the best player in the world, best player in a long time, playing in the Game 7. It's supposed to start on ESPN at 9. And there's a WNBA game with Caitlin Clark, which I get. There's a lot of buzz around Caitlin Clark. She's a phenomenal athlete. It's the 4th game of the year in the WNBA. So I flipped to ESPN2. Maybe they flexed it over there to start the game, which I thought would have been totally fine. And there's cornhole on. And then I can't watch. And I was not happy. I was losing it. And ESPN needs to sort of have a contingency plan. I'm not thrilled with when I turn on their TV and I have a lot of little babies at home. I'm trying to listen to the commentary and the crowd noise is drowning out the announcers. Like, I'm all for crowd noise, but it seems like the mix they have with the I don't know, like, I'm not happy right now, ESPN, and you kind of you got lucky that WNBA game didn't go to overtime, because what are we doing? It's Game 7. Stanley Cup playoffs, man. We're all excited that it's on ESPN. Let's not screw it up. Anyways, it was a wild finish in that WNBA game, though. But Caitlin Clark's their team still hasn't won a game yet, and I wanted to watch Game 7. I was not happy about it. So let's figure it out, please. And also, I just I got to talk about Scotty Scheffler. Not a boiling point. This guy deserves praise. He was stretching in a jail cell and then went 5 under at the PGA Championship because some hero decided he was going to be a hero that day. So shout out to Scotty Scheffler. Hopefully the Rangers can use some of that sort of mental fortitude to just focus on the prize in hand, even when things don't go their way. Scotty Scheffler, legend. ESPN, figure it out.
All right, Brian, it's me and you, as Mollie and Larry had to do their jobs and get off to practice, as that says goodnight to episode 158 of Up in the Blue Seats, our Rangers podcast from the New York Post. Now, we acknowledge how good Igor was, and he was fantastic, but I think we agree that in honor of the hat trick, I think 3 stars go out to future Hall of Famer Chris Kreider.
Yeah. I mean, that's the game we're going to remember when they're doing the ceremony, lifting that number 20 up to the rafters. And I thought it was going up there either way. Now it's cemented, and hopefully he continues to write this chapter of his career book, and it continues on for another month or so. That was so incredible. I'm so happy for him and the team. They deserve to be where they're at, and I was just happy I got to watch it.
Yeah, I was watching American Whiskey, and I got there. It was 3-1. I was at a Stefan Marbury event before, and I got there 3-1, and then they score 4 goals, and the place was going nuts. 7th Ave, not as big of a Knicks random victory celebration, but still a pretty big celebration. You had all the people from the watch party coming from the garden outside, so the streets were buzzing. We had 3 pints in honor of Chris Kreider after the game, I think. Had a little dipper, had a good time that night celebrating, but the journey has just begun. And, can you just give us a recollection of winning the Eastern Conference Finals in 2014 and kind of what took place after that and the celebration and the emotion in the clubhouse, in the locker room?
Yeah, we had a great group of guys. We had a great team. It's a little different because we didn't have an 80-point scorer or a 70-point scorer. Our highest point scorer was like 61 points, I think, Matt Zuccarello. We had depth. We had 3 lines of really good offensive players, and then we had our 4th line, which was actually 4 of us. It was me, Dominic Moore, and either Danny Carcillo or Derek Dorsett. And we had traded Ryan Callahan that year. We didn't have a captain. We had a number of guys that certainly were leaders, and we ended up squeaking one out in Game 6 at home against a very good Montreal team. I think it was 1-0, and man, it was the coolest feeling, and I have some photos of it. Just when that buzzer went down, celebrating in that pile, and then going over to take the photo with the Eastern Conference trophy. Brad Richards, and we had Danny Girardi, Mark Stahl. We had alternate captains that waved us all over, and we're taking this picture together. It was really a cool feeling, and I remember being excited about the prospect of the Cup Finals, but just getting there and seeing it and being part of like the media days, all of that was just tremendous. And we were ready. It just sometimes it doesn't work out. We had some tough breaks, and we didn't feel like we had satisfied what we wanted, what we set out for by any means by winning the East. But again, it's quite the accomplishment. And the Rangers are 4 games away from doing that. They have a lot of that same character, I think, from what I know of the team. Again, I'm not in that room, but it looks as though that's, their eyes are on Game 1. They're keeping it pretty simple in terms of not looking too far ahead. I want the games to start. Enough waiting.
Yeah, it's time. And this team's been through it all, Brian. Like, they've been through the first round disappointment against the Devils last year. They've been through the Eastern Conference Finals loss 2 years ago. This group and the core of this group has been battle tested like no other. And I feel like now is their time. 3rd time is the charm here. 2020, 2021 was the COVID shortened year. That year doesn't count. But the last 2 years, this team has been through a lot. They added some new players. They have a new coach. And now's the time to get it done. And they got home ice. The Garden, Game 7. You said Rangers 7. I'm going Rangers in 7. It just feels right. You got to make up for the Knicks loss. It's the Rangers' time to hold New York strong here 30 years later. And we'll take you through it all here and Up in the Blue Seats, where you can find on the New York Post Sports YouTube page. Watch us there. Smash that thumbs up button below. Comment below your predictions. How many games will it take? Do the Rangers prevail, or does Florida take them down? We won't even utter that ever again. So make sure you comment and subscribe if you're an Apple listener or Spotify, wherever you get podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at Brian Brybrows22, at Mollie Walker, 2 E's, 2 R's. I'm at Jake Brown Radio. For Larry Brooks, Brian Boyle, Mollie Walker, I'm Jake Brown. You guys will be back next week likely Memorial Day after Game 3 down in Florida to react to the first couple of games of this series and look ahead. We'll see where the blue shirts are at. Until next time on Up in the Blue Seats, Brian, let's get this thing going. It's showtime. Eastern Conference Finals time. Let's get it. Let's go Rangers.